14 WILI and 95.3 FM presents Hometown Threads, a closer look at our community and the people that make it go. Every week, you'll hear uplifting stories from our local businesses and our neighbors. Now, here's our host for Hometown Threads, Keith C. Rice.
There we go, episode 81 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM and Willimantic Today Facebook, Spectrum 192, the WILI Radio YouTube channel. And of course, if you are unable to, if you miss any of it, well, I don't know how you can miss them. They're all over social media platforms, but it airs on the radio every Tuesday, Hometown Threads that is, 5:05 to 5:30 every Tuesday here on 1400 AM and 95.3 FM. But of course, you can view it over several platforms, the Keith C. Rice Facebook page, Willimantic Today, as I said, Spectrum, and make sure you follow WILI Radio YouTube. Big thanks to our sponsor, Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind, with 3 great local locations. Of course, across the street from the radio station at 679 Main Street, Willimantic. West Main Street, Willimantic, managed by my beautiful wife, Marianne Gargoni. The Gateway Commons branch, and then of course Route 195 in Mansfield. Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind. J. Matt Rupar, for Be So Kind. Say hello to the fine folks.
Hello.
And of course, big thanks to Triple E Pro Clean Services, the Hometown Threads podcast sponsor at WILI.com. And WILI.com, you can get caught up on the Wayno shows and all our wonderful programs that run during the week here, produced by the one and only J. Matt Rupar. So, with that being said, we finally got him in here. It only took about 80 episodes. We just saw him a couple weeks ago. Very gracious that he came out to the first ever, and hopefully there'll be more, Monday Night Sports Beat at the Sports Bar that was streamed on the WILI Facebook page. We got him in here for Hometown Threads, though. Coach Brian Crudden.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you here.
That was a lot of fun, last Monday night.
Yeah, let's talk a little about that. I mean,
let's.
Costas and I, before we get into, I wish we could go 2 hours, even beyond that with Coach Crudden. But, so yeah, Costas and I pretty much put this together with less than a month. I went over to see him, had a couple beers, and we should really do something around Monday Night Football. Mm-hmm. And what we did was I turn around, we're sitting at the bar, and I look over at the stage, and I go, that's like a TV set. Why don't we do something like, an ESPN College Game Day, where we have a panel, and I could host it. You have to be in the panel, Costas, and, because you have to have a sports bar person. And I wanted it, both of us on the end. That's how I thought it would look. And get our guests in the middle, like yourself, Raphael, and Jan Coivisto from the Chronicle. And let's talk a little about, let's do local sports. Yep. And then at the end, we'll save a few minutes for the Monday night game. We'll have fun, give our predictions like they do on the big time networks, whatever.
That's right.
And so we had some fun, but I couldn't ask for, I'm so glad you committed and said yes, because that was a lot of fun. We did what we set out to do and talk local sports. And you're pretty much a center of it all here when it comes to local sports, especially all your years at Wyndham. So we'll definitely have you on again at the sports bar, but did you have fun that night?
I certainly did. It was great to see people, and hey, Costas is such a great guy. He's one of my favorite guys of all time, and I did give him kudos about, the only guy that stood up to The Rock.
I never knew that story.
Yeah, hey, he's pretty, he's pretty humble about it, but it's a true story.
I'm surprised he never told me that either.
Right, no, Costas isn't like that.
He stood up to The Rock. I mean, when you told that, my jaw dropped. That might have been the story of the night. I mean, we could have kept going. You were right out of the shoe with that, too.
I didn't want to wait and forget. I could forget it, I didn't want to forget it.
Yeah, I think he was turning a little red when you were telling that, too. Now, what year was that, the Costas Rock story?
That would have been the summer of, I want to say, 1990. Yeah,
wow, the year we graduated. We're class of 90.
There you go.
All right, so let's get into it, Coach Crudden, because you've, how many decades were you a part of, not just Wyndham High Athletics, but, you taught along with coaching, correct?
Mm-hmm. So, yes, I did. Started in the fall of 1976. That's 1976, not 1876, okay? And, it was great. And I started, the phys ed end of things started at Noble Elementary School and Natchog Elementary School. Most of the time at Noble, a little time at Natchog. And I'd go up to that high school every day, my first year, I coached football. I was the head freshman coach and helped with the varsity. And that basketball season, I got the season going for them.
Are you kidding me? So you were doing all that?
I set basketball back 20 years in this area. Okay, and then they realized this guy's a wrestling guy. Okay, we got to find him now. My good buddy, bless his soul, Danny Martineau,
Oh, yeah.
broke his jaw, and they needed a wrestling coach. He was John.
How did he break his jaw?
John, I'm not sure. Maybe in the wrestling room, accident.
Oh.
And John Hoffman was the head coach, and they needed someone to replace Danny. And hey, I could fill that spot. And they got someone who actually knew more about basketball than myself, Bobby Gagnon, good guy. And so about the second half of the season, I kind of took over the wrestling.
And this was 76, your first year?
Yeah, it was 76, 77 winter, that winter season.
So you're doing basketball, all that in 76, wrestling, and then you said, okay, let's get Martineau in here for basketball, and you just stuck to wrestling. You weren't involved with football yet, right?
Yeah.
So you football and
in
wrestling.
The fall of 76,
oh my God.
I did.
And were you teaching too?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
What were you teaching?
Teaching physical education.
Oh, phys ed. I don't know if you taught other
No,
classes too.
No, not at that.
Okay, so you're doing all this. How old are you in 76? Sorry, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Let's see. In 76, I must have been 23 years
Right,
old.
right.
You know?
So anyway, so what did you want to do off the bat? Did you want to do one, or did you live? What were your passions? Football and wrestling, both, or did you like one over the other?
No, I probably I had success in both as an athlete, okay, and wanted to coach both, and it didn't matter how much time or anything, we were going to put the time in, and we were going to get things going. And coaching football under Ed Ferrigno was a great thing. Ed was an offensive mind. I'm kind of a defensive guy, and but doing both sports was important to me.
All right, now this is what I wanted to ask. I couldn't get the words out of my mouth. Let's go back to Coach Crudden, the athlete. I know you love both, but when you were growing up playing sports, if you had to choose one, football or wrestling, what were you better at? Or what'd you like better?
Well,
you as the athlete.
The rewards or acknowledgement, that type of stuff, came a little sooner in wrestling. I was an all-state wrestler, second in New England as a junior, and then I won the states again as
for Wyndham?
No, from Hendricken High School in Warwick, Rhode Island.
Oh, okay. So Rhode Island. all the years I've known you, I forgot you grew up in Rhode Island.
Yeah, that's a pretty good athletic program too.
Hendrickton?
Hendricken, Bishop Hendricken.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you finished second?
I second in New England my junior year, and I won it my senior year.
How about that?
Won the states again. So, the recognition came a little sooner in wrestling, but I was an all-state football player also.
All right. We'll stay along that same timeline there. Tell us what happened after high school in Rhode Island. Where'd you go to school, college?
Went to Springfield College. Great school. That's like the Ivy League school for physical education.
My cousin, actually Jeff's sister, my cousin
Vicky.
Springfield.
My
Hello,
buddy
Vicky.
Hi, Vic. My buddy Vic.
She did physical therapy there, I believe.
I believe so, and she was part of a great field hockey program.
That's right,
there,
field
right?
hockey. Yeah, Wyndham too.
Did they win the national title or something like that?
I don't know. We have to check with her, but did they win it when she was at Wyndham? I think they did, right? Did she?
They did very well when she was at Wyndham. I know.
Were you AD? Were you ever AD?
No.
I thought you were okay. All right, so
I was enjoying coaching too much.
Right, so you're at Springfield. Take us through your years at Springfield, and then we'll get to Wyndham again.
Okay. My freshman year, played both football and wrestled. I was, I was an inside linebacker. Hey, college, you get to decide one side of the ball or the other. And I decided defense was more fun. I was an all-state offensive guard. But I was going to play defense. No one was paying me big money to play, so I'm going to play what I want, which was inside linebacker.
No NIL back then.
No. And I did wrestle and earned my varsity letter as a freshman in wrestling. Great Coach Parker was a legendary coach at Springfield College. And but I kind of decided after freshman year I was going to focus on football. and that was a good decision, and ended up being the captain of the football team in
What was Springfield D2?
74 season. That they were D2 then.
74
They're
season.
D3 now.
Okay. Wow. So captain of the football. How far did Springfield go that year?
No, we were like 6-4.
Respectable.
Yeah, and we had some challenging games, but against as far as the D2 schools in New England, we won most of those.
Very good.
We beat Central, Southern.
Wow.
And AIC's a big rivalry right in the town of Springfield.
Does that defense win games?
Defense wins games. Absolutely.
That's a defensive guy.
Absolutely.
Of course he's going to say yes. Coach Crudden's with us here, episode 81 of Hometown Threads on WILI, and of course Willimantic Today Facebook, WILI Radio YouTube, and Spectrum 192. So, all right, so you graduate Springfield. How do you end up in good old romantic Willimantic, Connecticut?
Interesting story. A couple of guys, okay. One was on my floor at Lakeside Hall at Springfield. His name was Robbie Francis.
Okay.
Wyndham football player on that great 1968 football team. Okay, so I heard all about that team. Robbie was a year ahead of me. And then there was a guy in my class, Bob Shalafu. Okay, I heard all about Johnny Green, okay, and the Hammond brothers, okay, and all those great players on that 68 team. Peter Haddon, and Brian Vertifay played in the NFL out of that
That's
team,
right.
So they were just getting to know the personalities decades after. I knew that they were an outstanding football
You were getting to
team.
know them while you were where? You were
Coaching at Wyndham.
Okay, so
sure,
you-
just, because they
What was
still attend the games. They were at the game Friday night pretty strong.
What was your intro? Yeah, so you see a lot of old faces always. That's just great about the history and the fabric of Wyndham football. But sir, what brought you? Like, what was your introduction to? Did somebody tell you about Wyndham? Or
Yeah, I told you that Bobby Shalfo told me and Rob Francis told me all about Wyndham when I was at
Right.
Springfield.
Okay, that's what I was trying to.
Okay,
Okay,
now-
gotcha.
My wife and I have now. She's outskirts of metropolitan New York. She's a Jersey girl.
Oh, really?
And we had jobs in Maine, which is fine with me because
So you guys were both up in Maine,
I could have lived in a cabin.
but she's like a city girl, right?
She's like a city slicker. Okay, and so anyway, we got these jobs, but I'm sure she's thinking, I don't know, Brian. And Bobby Shalafu gives me a call. Okay, he's secured a job down in Killingley Public Schools.
Okay.
And he goes, hey, Brian, there's a job in Wyndham, phys ed job. And I know Coach Ed will find some football coaching and, hey, could open up to some other stuff. And I said, man, we'll give it a shot because, hey, my wife's, home was in New Jersey. Mine was in Rhode Island. Where's Connecticut? Smack dab in the middle.
Perfect.
It did work out as a great geographical compromise. So, hey, we went for it, and the rest is history.
For your job, and she left her job in Maine. You guys just pursued Wyndham High School.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, so not the high school immediately. Like I told you, I was at Noble School
Oh, right.
in Natchog. She was part-time to start, and that was at Natchog.
Oh, so she got in at Natchog.
She
Okay.
got in at Natchog, but we both in Wyndham Public Schools, which was great.
Excellent. Okay, so now you're in Willimantic. It's 1976. Football and wrestling. You tried a little basketball. You pass it on to Coach Martineau. Now, how was it all? How were the early years coaching football and wrestling in those mid-late 70s there at Wyndham?
Yeah, it was good. Like head freshman coach, I got to work with the greatest coaching partner of my life, and that would be John Switchenko.
Oh.
Okay, you know the great name Switchenko in
that's
this
what
town.
we do.
Well, John Switchenko is a great football coach and basketball coach. He was the head basketball. He was his first year head basketball coach that 76-77 year
Really?
school year. And so it was great coaching with him. And we went like 5-2 freshman team. I think we won our last 5. Probably my introduction got it slowed things up. but John and I worked well together and continue to do so.
This Switchenko family, I tell you. Dan, of course, was who had a very successful coaching career at ECSU basketball, and he used to scare me as a little league umpire. I've had him. I love him. I've had him on when I fill in for Wayne. And
Dan is a pretty excitable guy.
Great guy. Great family. Okay, so now let's go into the 80s, around the time I was introduced to Coach Crudden, because I grew up with, my cousin is Jeff Bennett, who played for Coach Crudden, wrestled for Coach Crudden, and went on to have a very good baseball career at Wyndham, too. And Jeff and I were inseparable growing up. He was the best man at my wedding.
I remember.
And you'd see, I think I used to attend some Wyndham wrestling practices.
You did, yeah.
And now it's all coming back to me a little now. Jeff and I would get on the mat and wrestle, and my Uncle John there would be all over Jeff and me. And sorry, Jeff, I know Jeff pinned me a few times. Jeff and I were very even in everything. Excuse me. We're actually having a very even fantasy football matchup. Even in fantasy, to this day, we're 52 years old and we're still very even in a lot of stuff. But Jeff, as we talked about off the air, is so cerebral and strategic. And I wanted you to talk a lot. With so many people you've wrestled and coached over there, or you coached in wrestling and football over the years. Speak a little about when someone like, my cousin Jeff Bennett entered the program.
Yeah, well, Jeff certainly had been introduced to it. John Bennett was a volunteer for me.
Oh, he's
early on.
Because then he was a ref later on, right?
Then he was a ref. Yeah. And he assisted at different schools, too. It went on at Berlin High School, then coached at Trinity. The guy is a journeyman, which includes, like, senior world champion.
Right, he just got into the Wrestling Hall of Fame,
He got into the Wrestling Hall of Fame. He is serious about his wrestling, and he was like a godsend, my early years, and we got along so well.
So he was like an assistant coach to you,
was
right? Okay.
Absolutely an assistant coach, and I want to say, probably 1985, we had our first chance to run a state tournament, the 1985 Class M State Championship. And I knew right away who I was going to get to be our tournament director, and that was John Bennett. And,
talk a little, because I was 13 at this point, as was Jeff. I think I vaguely remember this. I probably even attended some of this. So that's how you brought him on, for that first time hosting that 1985 tournament there?
No, not the first time. He had already worked since the 77 season with me.
Oh, right. Okay.
As a volunteer. But I mean, volunteer like worth his weight in gold. The guy is.
He loves wrestling.
He's passionate about wrestling. His technique is phenomenal. And he's a good teacher. You better pay attention when John's teaching, or he's gonna let you know. And no, he's a great guy. He liked that team a lot. That 1985, we had won our first championship in '83. We were runner-up in '84. And then this 85 team was the first ones to win a state title at home.
Okay, I'm glad you went back to that, because we'll get to Jeff and the 90s teams or whatever, but talk a little about that 83, 84, 85 team, some of your wrestlers on that team, if you can.
Yeah, so probably a real important character is Pat Risley was captain of that 83 team, as well as Dickie Moreau and Willington used to go to Wyndham. Okay, we used to get some good wrestlers from Willington. Okay, and Dickie Moreau and his brother, being two of the best. Jimmy Fiasconero from town here. Those were our three captains. That was a great team in '83, and then Jeff Moreau was just a sophomore then, although he placed high in the state. And then he was captain of that '85 team with a couple of other characters, and we beat a Ledyard team that had their absolute entire team back from a state championship title, and we improved more than they did. I'd like to believe, and we won that 1985 title at home in 1985.
Unbelievable. Okay, now, because time is so short with this, and I'm actually going to make call an audible, as they say in football. I got to wait for my producer to get back in here, J. Matt Rupar, but because there's so much to talk to you about, and I've never done this with any other guest, and all my guests have been wonderful, but I have so much more to go. I may do like a part 2 with you.
That's fine.
Maybe we'll do that, and we got you in here today, so maybe that's what we'll do. I want you to talk, now that you talked about the mid-'80s, or 83, 80, or 84, 85, and there will be times I may put you on the spot. I'm not saying name favorites, but let's get into the 90s a little.
Don't forget, 89, we won the title also.
Oh, that's right. Wait, that was a Jeff Bennett team, was it? Was that Jeff Bennett,
no,
Kirk
Jeff
Jenkins?
was just after that, yeah.
All right, so because we were class of 90. So,
90.
right. So, okay, let's talk about that 89 team. That was Kirk Jenkins? So that Sebi?
Yeah. Kirk Jenkins, Sebi was on it, although he was young on it, but he achieved to a high level. Okay, so that 89 team was pretty special. We had 4 champs like Jamie Poulin was a sophomore, wins
Poulin.
Class L. David Alvarez was a tough guy at
Loaded.
180. Yeah, we were loaded. You know, we beat a hand team in their place. We even sang the national anthem because their system broke down. So
Get out.
Before the finals, Wyndham Wrestling.
They all sang it together?
We sang the national anthem. It was great. You know?
So you pretty much handed it to him. Hey!
Hey, good job.
That's why I never wrestle. That's why I pay me the big bucks. No. So
I better mention your buddy Chris Grant was on that 89.
oh, that's right, Chris.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So you can go right.
'Cause
So
he-
Poulin, Alvarez, Jenkins, Grant.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Oh my
That was
God.
a great team.
So now I can see why. Don't make me
Jason
too.
Henry.
Jason Henry, another
was
one.
a great wrestler on that 89 team. Vic Soto.
Oh, that's right. Victor Star with the same areas of the.
Yeah, there you go.
So now, oh my God, Coach! Now I can see why you're like, don't let me choose a team. I can't choose. You had so many unbelievable athletes and wrestlers.
Blessed. I was absolutely blessed.
So now, okay, you told us right, 83 to 89. Let's get into when my cousin, when Jeff entered the scene there. Well, who was on that team? Was that 90? Well, Jeff wrestled how many years? Jeff wrestled all 4 years.
Jeff wrestled all 4 years.
So he was
Sure.
part of those teams then, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But he really didn't. Did he come into his own the senior year? Because all those other wrestlers, did he?
He really came on with a lot of force his senior year. He had a great turn, like I mentioned. He wrestled one of the toughest guys in New England to a decision. Okay, that was
Tell that story.
T.J. Mackerel. He had pinned guys in the finals of the New England. Here's Jeff going, close point decision with T.J. Mackerel. It was a great match. He upset. We ended up like that 85 team. We hosted the Class L's in 1990 and 91 at home also. And Jeff got to wrestle there. He beat this outstanding wrestler from Bristol Central, upset him. And, so Jeff Bennett was...
And that was senior year for Jeff, right?
That was senior year for Jeff.
So, okay, you said Jeff wrestled all 4 years.
Yep.
All those unbelievable wrestlers you just named, along with my cousin Jeff, but how does it work? And again, I don't know the sport that well, where you have all these talented wrestlers. How do you work them all in? How many wrestlers can you carry on a roster? First of all, I guess.
Well, there's no limit. What limited our numbers on the wrestling team was the size of that wrestling room that you were in.
That's right.
We used to, holy mackerel, it's more like it's a padded cell. And, we had a small room.
Yeah, that wrestling room brings back a lot of memories.
It's a special place to a lot of special people.
So you won it in, let's go back to, you won it in 89, right, as well, right? How far did that 90 team go?
90 team was runner-up, okay, and then the big run, really, we win it in 91, 92, 93, and 94. And 92 included a New England title, and in 93, New England runner-up. So,
I think a name just popped into my head. I see it comes back to me a little here. Ernie Goodwin?
The Goodwin brothers.
The Goodwin brothers. See, I remembered.
Yeah, and both Ernie and Andy. Ernie was the older brother.
This is 92?
Let's see, I want to say Ernie was a state open champ in 91. Okay. Andy was a state open champ and a New England champ in 92 and 93. You want to know where I recruited those guys?
Where?
Okay, this is all those young wrestling coaches out there. Make sure you recruit kids. I recruited the Goodwin brothers at St. Margaret's Church in Scotland. There's a hill that goes down from the front door of the church down to a parking level. And those guys would be out there wrestling every Sunday morning. The brothers at
wrestling.
The church. And I predicted it when they were little guys. I go, someday those guys are going to be great wrestlers. And I was like a prophet.
I tell you, well, you must have look at all those other wrestlers you brought in too. Well, you just speak a little on that as we get ready to wrap up. By the way, this is the first time ever in Hometown Threads. First time we had first time ever Monday Night Sports Beer at the Sports Bar. Why not do another first time ever with Coach Crudden? For the first time ever in Hometown Threads, we're going to do a part 2. So, because we haven't even touched on football yet. So, Coach, can you stick around for a little bit?
Absolutely.
All right, great. All right, so we'll wrap up part 1, and it's a pleasure to say it's confirmed we will have Coach Crudden back next week for part 2, right?
Sounds good. I'll be here.
All right. Thank you to J. Matt Rupar, Liberty Bank B, Community Kind. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. That'll do it for part 1 of episode 81 of Hometown Threads. And in the words of the great Roddy McCumber,
bye for now, folks. Bye for now.
And that concludes another edition of Hometown Threads. Got a story for Keith? Reach out to him on Facebook by searching Keith C. Rice or email him at krice@hallradio.net. Don't forget to tune in next week on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, as well as the Willimantic Today page on Facebook.